Hey guys, welcome to our channel. We're the Real Bros, Lucas and Jaren, and today we are talking about The Mandalorian, specifically Season 2, but also the bigger topic of whether or not Dave Filoni and the other guy whose name escapes
John
me,
Favreau.
John Favreau, that's what it is, whether they are the saviors of Star Wars.
Okay, this question
So,
came up. Um, a little backstory. Last Friday, I was home from work and just hanging out, and I kept seeing all these Facebook posts about how great the season finale of Mandalorian is, and a couple people were like, Dave Filoni and John Favreau they're restoring Star Wars, they're saving Star Wars, they're the heroes. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. What did they do? So then I had to see what happened. I did see a spoiler for the big reveal, and I hated it. I didn't hate what happened. I hated that internet journalists posted the review, the spoiler, in their headlines, and it just showed up on my Google feed. And it's not even like I clicked on anything. What are they doing? It was like
I don't
it
understand
was
these
hours.
people.
Oh, so I saw the big spoiler. I'm like, well, now I have to see what happens. But I had stopped watching halfway, I watched the first like 3 episodes of season 2, and then my guy Jim, he told me for some more backstory to watch some Clone Wars and Rebels. So that's what I was in the middle of doing. I was gonna take my time, watch some backstory to get take my time with it, have a really deep Star Wars experience, because I really want to give The Mandalorian a fair shake and really enjoy it to the nth degree as all the other Star Wars fans do. And then I just I saw the spoiler and I'm like, okay, now I just got to rush through it. So I watched the last 5 in one night, and I still liked the last episode, but
Mm,
I think it could have been, I would have been like hyping myself up and jumping around if I didn't know. So if
yeah,
you're a spoiler person, don't talk to me
yeah,
or do anything. Don't do anything.
yeah. And just for those people in the room who have somehow not had it spoiled yet or haven't watched it and have found themselves in this video
What are
somehow,
you doing here?
get out of here, go watch
For your
it
own good. It's because we love you.
for your own
We're gonna
good.
get into
And
spoilers.
yeah, and then come back because yeah, we're just gonna get right into the spoilers, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick though, um,
Hmm.
after seeing, so let's pretend in like a vacuum, you had just watched the sequel trilogy and then went right into watching The Mandalorian up through the whole entirety of season 2. Would you consider John Favreau and Dave Filoni the heroes or the saviors of Star Wars? What does that even mean to you?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that I think if they get put into creative control to a greater degree, I think that Star Wars is in good hands.
Okay.
I'll say that much.
All right.
I don't know if I would go so far as to say they are the saviors. Um, I think I was just a quick summary. I was excited going from season 1 to season 2 to see what would happen because I liked season 1
Mhm.
and I was excited to see where they were going to take the Mandalorian. Um, then season 2, I liked it, but I was left less satisfied than I was with season 1. And I don't think that that necessarily spells disaster for Star Wars. I don't. That's not. I'm just a guy, and I like Star Wars. So, you know. But from my perspective, I think they did a good job, and you know, whatever. Who cares about my opinion?
I do. That's why I talk to you.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
For me, so I just have to, I have to frame the question in my mind. That what does it even
Mm.
mean that they're the saviors of Star Wars? What does Star Wars need saving from? Is the franchise
Mm.
even in a terrible position to begin with? A lot of people, I mean, after the Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker, I don't, whatever you want to call it, experience. um, I feel like we
The
have two camps
dungeon.
of Star Wars fans. We have people who really like The Last Jedi and what direction it seemed that the franchise seemed to be going in, and then you have people who hated it and wanted nothing to do with Star Wars anymore. And then Rise of Skywalker came out, and I guess some people loved it and some people did it. Be, yeah, you have basically the people who hated Last Jedi loved Skywalker, and if you loved Jedi, you hated Skywalker. And
Mm.
so I guess it depends on who you ask. Is the Star Wars franchise in a bad position? What?
See, here's where I'm like a third party that hated both of those movies. Oh man.
Gosh. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't really like The Last Jedi, and I was talking to the fabled Jim about this today.
Mm.
And this isn't a Last Jedi review, but basically, most of the common criticisms that most people don't like it for aren't really my reasons for not liking it. I just happen to be someone who didn't really like it, but there's a bunch of good stuff in it. Even some like good ideas that was bringing up. I'm like, oh, this good. It was like really close to being really good, in my mind, but it just kind of. It's basically just felt like the movie spent too much time trying to mess with the audience instead of being a movie unto itself. And then we have
Well said.
the Rise of Skywalker, which was like an apology retcon of Jedi, and I I enjoyed watching the Rise of Skywalker because of the spectacle of film production being like an apology or a walking back. Like, wow, I'm really watching this. Like, there's lines of dialogue specifically scripted to undo The Last Jedi. It's like they spent millions of dollars to make this movie. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I was just along for the ride. Like, it's, stuff's blowing up. Chewie exploded, whatever, but he's really back. C-3PO did a thing. Why did they kiss at the end? So
So in a
in
nutshell,
a nutshell,
you were very disappointed with Disney Star Wars sequels.
well, yeah, I guess disappointed. Yeah, I mean, or rather, so I just became less passionate about it. I really liked Star Wars growing up, and then after what I saw happening, my take was like, okay, I just shouldn't really invest anything into this emotionally, and just be like, oh yeah, it's a movie. Eat some popcorn and chill and peace out on the next thing. Just have a good time. Because I still like just the experience of watching a movie and being part of the pop culture and the discussion. So that's still fun. But,
Yeah.
it wasn't like I was like invested like I was after episode 7. Because I was like, this is a cool story that could happen. And so... Did Star Wars need saving? If there's anything Star Wars needed saving from, I'm really long-winded about this. Thanks for listening to me, guys. If there's anything Star Wars needed saving from, I think the biggest crime that happened against the franchise was that they had begun a new trilogy without a clear direction of what was to happen. And so then you had all these creative ideas going back and forth and fighting each other. That's
Yep.
the biggest shame of all. So,
Yeah.
so I guess Star Wars needs saving. Are Filoni and Favreau the guys to do it? I think they could be, but I wouldn't be convinced by The Mandalorian alone.
Well said. Yeah. I'll try and be as short as I can be in response.
Okay,
But
2 words.
I would consider myself, I'll just be more dramatic about it.
Yeah.
I was I was almost personally offended with the sequel trilogy. I was expecting so much, and was very excited that we were finally getting sequels, and was left very, very disappointed. And I will tie this back into The Mandalorian.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest losses from the sequel trilogy was the lack of focus on the mythic quality of Star Wars. I think there was a big focus on myth in the original trilogy and even in the prequel trilogy. I think George Lucas had a sense, even if he wasn't the greatest writer, he had a sense of epic storytelling and engaging drama. And he did it in a way that was compelling, I think largely due to the world that it was set in and just how creative he was visually and even musically. I think he just set it in the perfect setting. And when Disney got a hold of it, I think that they took a hold of a lot of the feelings that you got, but lost sight of the mythos and some of the epic scale. Epic as in like in relating to like the myth. So yeah, I think that The Mandalorian is a smaller scale version of Star Wars, and so you can't attach the same kind of mythos to it. It can't be as grand and epic and dramatic maybe. But I do think that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni both have a better sense of myth than the other creative directors and writers that have handled the rest of Star Wars so far.
Okay.
Disney Star Wars.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Charitably said. Okay. All right. So then, going into Mandalorian.
Should we just get into The Mandalorian?
Yeah. So what'd you like? What'd you think was good? The baby's got a name.
So the baby's got a name. Yeah, that was cool. I liked how they started moving forward the story a little bit more. I think we had talked about in season 1 there being a lot of like fetch quests and delays and just kind of random.
I can't stand fetch quests. I really can't.
Yeah. Even a little bit of time filling maybe. But I think a lot of that was remedied in season 2. I think that almost every episode was pushing forward the quest that the Mandalorian had to get the child back to his people. And there were a lot of interesting episodes. I really liked the Ahsoka episode. That was really cool. Maybe my favorite of the season. I think that one was the most Star Wars feeling. And I don't know if that was just because that was a Jedi involved and it was somebody who wasn't front and center to most of Star Wars. So I think it was kind of cool to see that and deal with the Force a little bit, and you learn the child's name and everything. So I loved that. And I also loved just the whole Western setting that they were going for. I think it was done really well in that episode in particular.
Okay.
I think that classic Star Wars melds the mythic and the Western really well, and I thought that episode did a great job. So, yeah, I liked that. I liked all the quality of the show was still really great.
Oh.
The special effects, sound design, all the music was good. I thought the music was good.
Yeah.
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 Did you like the music? It sounds like
I
you
like
liked
the music. Yeah. The theme song and credits music's definitely been growing on me, and I like, I guess maybe I'm just a sucker for older movies, but I like that there's a consistent theme that plays in different parts of the show. That I think that just gives it kind of like a sense of continuity and consistency musically, which you don't really get in movies so much anymore. So that's been nice. And yeah, I agree about like production value. The quality is just astounding. Like I'm always like catching myself, kind of like in awe. Like, oh, wow, that was like a really well well designed shot of this spaceship flying around, or Din Djarin flying in his jetpack and stuff. Like it just everything just looks really good, and I think I don't know, George Lucas would probably be like peeing in his pants seeing how good the show looks. He's like, man, what if I could have done stuff like this back in the 70s? Like that would have been amazing. So yeah, I really like that. I agree that oh gosh, I left season 1. You guys know I was going off at how like pointless everything was, and like it was so slow to me, and like I don't care about fetching the thing, and then we still get some of that in season 2 of like we have to talk to this guy so we can get this item, so we can go into this place to get this other thing. I really don't like when that's the plot, but at least in season 2 it was all going toward finding Grogu's home with the Jedi and all that, so at least it's going somewhere. In season 1 it was kind of unbearable for me that there's nothing happening. It's just, now we're here, we gotta do a job. I mean, we gotta do a job. So even though we still had that in season 2, I was able to get on board with it more, and really I've been telling anybody who listens to me about this stuff that I really got excited. I got really excited in season 2, the episode when he meets the other Mandalorians, and specifically the line where they're kind of arguing about having their helmets off, and he's like, you can't do that, and the other people look at each other and they go, oh, he's one of them. I was like, yes, just that little line of dialogue. I get so excited about thinking about what Mandalorian culture is like, and what his upbringing was in that, and what cultural and axioms he has that he holds to, and why that's so important to him, versus he's kind of hanging on to the old way, and then these people show up and they seem to be breaking all the rules, but are they in the right? I don't know. He doesn't know. I'm like, wow, is this going to lead to some kind of character growth? Is he going to be free from the strictures of old Mandalore? I don't know. And I really related to that a lot personally. We don't need to get into all that, but like, you know how it is. You're like, I don't really do that anymore. You stick to the mud. So I was like, is he going to stop being a stick in the mud? This is cool. I was kind of sad they didn't really follow up on that. Hopefully we get more of that in future seasons, because I thought that was a really cool point to lock into as far as character development, and really latching on to his internal struggle and what he thinks about internally, because I really don't know what he thinks about most of the time. He's just doing jobs and protecting the baby. And speaking of the baby, I went off last time about how I'm not going to be falling for Baby Yoda merchandise, so naturally it follows that I should come into the possession of this. This was given to me by a client kind of as a joke. Look at him. Look at this. I think this might be the actual one they use in the show, because that's pretty good animatronics right there. So
that is.
Yeah, so I guess I'm in now.
You're a devotee.
I'm a devotee.
Let me piggyback onto the character development thing.
Piggy.
So, thank you. I actually felt like that was one of the things that left me a little disappointed, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the fact that they established that he was like a devotee in the first season, and had him kind of rub up against the other Mandalorians who were doing their own thing, weren't part of that tribe. What bothered me a little bit was the execution of some of that stuff. So I think that seems like it has been his only like real motivation in the whole show, has been kind of following and obeying
the way,
his tribe. Yeah, the way. So that was like all of first season. Then the second season comes around, and his whole point in trying to get the child to his home with the Jedi is that it's like following his way, and that the armorer in the first season told him this is the way. You have to go find the kid's home. So that's what motivates him the whole time. And then some of that stuff starts kind of falling apart a little bit in pieces, I guess. I think the biggest thing is that he keeps taking off his helmet and showing his face to people in the last couple episodes, and it was kind of weird to me just because I didn't see anything outside of him helping those other Mandalorians. I didn't see anything to make him change his mind about it or learn something new about his culture that he didn't know or learn something bad about his tribe that he came from. Um, so, yeah, that was kind of jarring for me when I saw him taking his helmet off all the time. And then at the end when, spoiler alert, again, when Luke Skywalker shows
Luke
up.
Skywalker shows up.
He shows up and he just gives the kid to him, says goodbye, and like completes his mission, so to speak. I thought that the natural evolution for him, because he'd been taking his helmet off and like, oh, maybe he's having second thoughts about the way. I thought maybe he was gonna like, I'm not giving the kid up, or something like that. But no, he like follows through with it. So I know people are complex. But yeah, those were some questions that were going on in my mind while I was watching.
Yeah, I mean, I excused him taking off the helmet during the mission on Stormtrooper Planet, whatever.
Sure.
Just because the stakes were we have to do this to get the kid back, and I could buy into that moment. Like it's like, oh, he's breaking his one rule, so he really loves the child.
Sure, yeah.
So him taking I had heard kind of floating around the internet complaints about him taking his helmet off a lot. I'm like, does he do it a lot? And he kind of did, but I don't know. This is giving me a little bit of a leading question, maybe, but did you notice in the last few episodes any we'll call them sins the show committed that were reminiscent of the sequel trilogy or maybe Marvel movies? Anything come to mind there?
That is a leading question.
Yeah.
Did I notice anything? Well, I mean, they were playing pretty heavy into the nostalgia hand.
True, yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
That's part of it.
Oh, okay.
I'll just get into it. Okay, so...
Just get into it. Tell me what you're thinking.
I'll tell you what I think. Okay, so when we talked about season 1, I had spoken extensively, as I do sometimes, about how it's this is a story that's not related to the Jedi or any of that, and so it's really own isolated thing. And because of that, it was hard for me to get into because I'm really into the story of the Jedi. But I was committed to following the show, and so then, yeah, we have Luke Skywalker showing up and Ahsoka Tano, and like, okay, there's Jedi showing up now. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And Bo-Katan from Clone Wars. Who else? And Boba Fett himself. So
Boba Fett.
So when that happened, when Ahsoka, I guess when Bo-Katan showed up, it signaled to me that now at this point the show is leaning on characters from other Star Wars media to build up hype in its own show. And maybe there were characters from other shows in the first season. I don't know. Maybe there were. But it was really obvious to me in season 2. And what I really don't like, or what I would have liked to see, I suppose, is the show really standing on its own feet and not relying on, hey, look at this reference to this other character, or hey, look, this guy's showing up. And like when you told me that the guy in season 1 was Boba Fett, I was like, what? How am I supposed to know that? And then he comes back and then he's Boba Fett. I'm like, I guess he's Boba Fett. And then I was like, I don't remember Return of the Jedi that well, like, or at least what happens to Boba Fett. I thought he was totally dead, but I guess he didn't die. Was there a scene in Return of the Jedi where he escapes or something? Okay,
No, that's all expanded universe stuff that I think they
Okay.
They subsumed.
All right. So I wasn't completely wrong just to think he was dead. So
No.
yeah. So then he shows up. I'm like, okay, cool. Boba Fett's here, but I don't really want him here. I don't care. I guess he's cool. People think he's cool. I already talked about why people thought
Yeah.
he was cool in the last video.
I have to say I didn't like some of the nostalgia plays. I like 100% on board with you. But some of the Boba Fett stuff, it hit me in the nostalgia bone. So I was very torn through a lot of it. Like every time Slave 1 was on screen, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah, when the Slave One showed up, I'm like, is that the Slave One or just a ship that looks like it? And
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was a common Mandalore ship that everybody has if you're a bounty hunter. Yeah, but I mean, Din Djarin didn't have one. His is shaped like who knows what, the minivan. Anyway, yeah, so it's cool. He showed up and he's starts kicking butt and lighting up all the stormtroopers, and I actually really liked that episode for its camera work. In that episode in particular, I really dug the camera work. I forget who the director was, but hats off to you. I actually can't wear hats because my head's too big, but if I could. So yeah, and then the Luke Skywalker thing. I was kind of disappointed that people were saying that Favreau and Filoni are the saviors of Star Wars just because they gave Luke Skywalker a cool scene where he kills a bunch of people or droids. Like, I mean, that's really awesome. I really enjoyed watching that, but that doesn't make the show good. That doesn't make it. That doesn't increase its like storytelling value. Really, it's just it's the ultimate nostalgia. We know you want to see this. We know you've been dying to see this for decades. Here it is, moment. But it doesn't build. It makes me absolutely not care about Din Djarin because now I just want to see what Luke Skywalker is going to do next. And so it just stole the show from Djarin.
I'm so glad you said that.
And I even feel the same way about Boba Fett.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what do we need Din Djarin for if Boba Fett's here?
Yeah. I was okay with a few of the additions, with Ahsoka and even a little bit like Bo-Katan. I started feeling like it was getting a little crowded, but I totally resonate with you. At the end of the show, on the last episode, when the X-Wing shows up, my first thought was like, oh, maybe it's Ahsoka for some reason. She's in an X-Wing. Like, that would make sense within the context of the show because that's an established character. She was only in a couple episodes, one really. So I was expecting that. And then as he starts walking through with the black cape, I'm like, oh man, that's got to be Luke Skywalker. Like, what is he doing in this show? That was like my first thought was like, what is he doing here?
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I wanted to see Luke Skywalker, but it almost felt like a little bit of Rise of Skywalker to me. Like, we know you wanted to see Luke behaving like Luke. So we're going to bring a Force ghost of Luke back and, like, have him take really good care of the lightsaber and hand it to Rey. And, like, we know you wanted to see that Luke. So we're just going to show it to you. And it felt a little bit like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were like, we know this is the Luke you guys wanted to see, so here you go. And I don't necessarily think that shouldn't be a thing that they do, but maybe not in this show. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily want to see it in this show.
I did, yeah. I had kind of had suspicions that Luke might show up eventually because, one, because we know it takes place sometime after the fall of the Empire, so he's somewhere doing stuff, and from the very beginning, the child was Force sensitive, so it's like, okay, he's Force sensitive. Luke's got to have something to do with this at some point. But I didn't expect for them to actually put him in the show. Yeah, and then Ahsoka Tano mentions, if you go to the planet and touch the thing, then the Jedi might hear you or whatever she said.
Yeah.
So like, okay,
it makes
maybe
sense
that could
the
be
plot.
Luke. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it was feasible. plausible. I just don't know that I needed to see it. It was great. I'm glad I saw it, but also could it have been in another show? So,
I think so. Yeah.
or save it for a movie. I don't know.
Movie.
Yeah, whatever. So it was cool, but I think it's one of those things where people got so caught up in seeing Luke Skywalker that it tricked them into thinking the show was better than it is. Not that the show's bad. I like the show now.
Not bad.
I've been converted.
Yeah.
I like the show.
Oh, wow.
I like it. Yeah, but don't.
Yeah.
It was like when the first time I saw The Last Jedi. I don't. You remember that I saw it back to back showings on opening night? I left the first showing, and I was so hyped. I was like, "That was incredible!" But I realized as soon as I sat down for my second viewing, I got tricked into thinking the movie was good because the fight scene with the red guys was really cool, and that was it. And I was like, I started reading the opening crawl. I'm like, "Oh no, I have to watch all this again."
Oh man.
I did end up seeing it one or two more times after that, even because I just got to give it a chance.
Wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure.
I felt the same way. Yeah. I remember seeing it. I actually saw it in Mexico,
Oh.
with Micah, my wife, and I remember walking out of the theater and thinking like, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, it was decent, you know. And then I saw it the second time, and then it like got worse and worse after that. And I had to like call up a couple friends for coffee and like sit down and process it with them and like, okay, this is why I didn't like it. This is why it was bad.
I'm sure we had a phone call in that time period
Oh
too.
man. Yeah, you were definitely one of those friends. Yep. Yeah, that was a rough period. So anyway, I think it's a kind of a larger symptom of kind of what's been going on a lot lately in big franchise films. I think a lot of maybe not filmmakers, but producers definitely are trying to create these, and probably filmmakers too, are trying to create these multiverse movies where they have this cinematic universe like Marvel, and a lot of it kind of relies on the familiarity with different characters, the fandom behind different characters, and Star Wars definitely got that established. So I think... But I think one of the things that gets lost there is that one of the great things about the original Star Wars movies is that they were the originals, and the characters that came up that you fell in love with were because they were good characters. And even characters like Lando, who's only in, 1.5 movies, he's a fan favorite because of the way he's written and because of how he has an arc in Return of the Jedi. So I think, I think that's some of what maybe Disney Star Wars is leaning on. I don't know. Maybe the executive producers, maybe it's Kathleen Kennedy pulling the strings again. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. Maybe the producers are whispering in, Favreau and Filoni's ears and just saying like, we need more Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker, and they're like, okay, fine. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, so you mentioned Kathleen Kennedy. I know she gets a lot of hate online. I've been trying to be nicer to her of late, because I'm trying to understand or wrap my brain around the fact that even though she's an executive, she doesn't necessarily make all the decisions. And they can't singularly blame her for everything, which I know people do. So. Mm-hmm. And we have to credit her for Jurassic Park, which I love. She was part of that, so go Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes.
She does
gets
good
this
stuff.
Much credit.
Okay, but saying that brings up the other potential sin of season 2, and I probably wouldn't have noticed this if it weren't for so many Mary Sue discussions coming around in the past few years. It's just in my head now, and it's hard to watch a movie and not be, aware of like the outward discussions. So this isn't really. I don't know. You can help me decide if this is a fault or anything the show did wrong, or if it just is looking like that because of outside conversations. But and this has to do with Boba Fett as well showing up. So we have the problem, like with Captain Marvel, where the producers and directors all kept writing her to be compared to the male characters, and like, look how great she is in comparison to Thor. She's like the most powerful Avenger, blah blah blah. And it's like, we don't really need them to fight. Like, I don't care about that. Just let her be cool. I thought she actually had some cool character moments in her movie. I was like, oh, I could be into this. Yeah, so then we get into Mandalorian, and then there's the fight scene. It's quick, but Boba Fett fights the one girl, Marauder chick. What's her name?
Oh yeah.
In the thing. First of all,
forehead braid.
Yeah, her. Yeah. I don't know why they were fighting. If I were Din Djarin in that situation, I would have slapped Boba Fett. Like, they're just asking you why you have the armor. You can just explain it to them, and it's fine. You don't have to be all like, I earned this from my father. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, quit being a dork and just be nice. We need their help. But he has to go and run his mouth, and then they get in a fight, and then she has that moment where she like overpowers him or something, and I'm like, I don't need to. It just made me think of all the other stuff where it's like, I don't need to be introduced to a female character and then have her fight an established male character so that it makes her look cool or they're on equal footing or something. I had already pictured them on equal footing. I already know she's great. She was cool. I don't need it. I don't like.
Yeah.
That fight scene did not need to happen.
Yeah.
And then there's the end game girl power scene that everybody kind of laughed at. I guess some people thought it was cool. I'm cool with girl heroes doing stuff. Go for it. I'm down. But then I couldn't help but notice that in the last episode, all the girls were fighting all the droids and stormtroopers, and I'm like, where'd all the guys go? And like, there were two other Mandalorian dudes with the two girls.
Yeah.
And they just weren't in the episode. I'm like, where'd they go?
They didn't show up.
But,
yeah.
So, but what's good, the show had made it happen organically. Like, this just the characters that were here. It was fine. And I was trying to consciously think, this is fine. They're not like doing something just to be goofy. But I feel like, I just couldn't not see it, only because of the discussion around that right now. And I don't even like that it has to be a discussion.
Totally. Yeah, they did the same thing in the first season. They have these moments where, and I guess it's better than the female characters just overtly overpowering and humiliating the male characters, but they have these moments where it's like they fight and then it results in a tie, and it's almost like the subtext is like blaring on the screen that like, look, these people are equals. And like Cara Dune and the Mandalorian fight in the first season.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And that exact same thing happens where it results in a tie, and then same thing kind of happens in this season. I think a lot of the problems, almost everything that I was disappointed with, kind of is the result of a similar thing where I could see what they were trying to do. Like, I could see the man behind the curtain, and it was taking me out of it and kind of disappointing me. Like that's a good example of it. Bringing in like nostalgic characters to kind of prop up the story, or to clue you in and to draw you in as a fan. And then, big stuff like Luke Skywalker and, that kind of stuff. I think it just kind of, some of that stuff just really took me out of it, and I was disappointed that they went that route instead of focusing on writing a really good story.
Yeah, and I like all those female characters. They're all cool. So I didn't really objectively have any issues with the way it was portrayed in this show, but I just wondered if you picked up on that at all.
Totally.
Only because of how it seems in like other media where it's like
the same thing went through my mind when that was going on. It was like, okay, I'm trying not to, because these are the only characters that are on the mission right now, so whatever, the other guy is somewhere else, the other Mandalorian that was with them, I don't know, just kind of tried to had to look past it, I guess. But that was the problem, was that I had to look past it. You know? Yeah. Is the problem with me? I don't know. Maybe
the problem's with us, man. We got problems. But I mean, I think about like how Wonder Woman was introduced in Batman v Superman, and you know, she had a little bit of back and forth with Bruce Wayne. It was really funny to watch because Bruce was getting clowned a bit, but you would expect that from Wonder Woman. But it wasn't like she had an arm wrestling match with Superman and be like, ha, girl power.
Or they tie and they're the same. Yeah. They're equals.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, she just showed up, she blocked the thing from Batman, and it was great. And, like, that moment always makes me cry when I think of it. I'm like, this is amazing. I cried in Wonder Woman. That was amazing. That was a great movie.
Yeah. You know what's funny is, like, a character like Boba Fett is so beloved, and everybody thinks he's a badass. But in the original movies, he really doesn't, there's no scene of him, like, kicking a bunch of people's butts and like killing a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, that's why I don't care about him. I'm like, he never did anything that cool to me.
Yeah, well, and you don't care about him, but a lot of people are super huge fans, and he didn't have to do any of that stuff. So I think you could show that characters are like strong and, you know, whatever, intimidating, without having to have some like crazy fight with somebody, or I don't know.
I mean, we talked about this in Enola Holmes, where you don't have to show the value of a woman character by comparing her to a man character, and because I think that's a disservice to the woman, because a good character stands on her own merits, and I think that's great. And that's what I liked a lot about Enola Holmes. I really liked that movie. Yeah, same with like Wonder Woman, Black Widow. You know, she doesn't, I don't know, I guess she fights Hawkeye in Avengers, but I don't feel like that was framed to be like, woohoo, look at her moment. It was just like, wow, this is happening, it's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Maybe I'm just seeing things. I don't know. Because, yeah.
This is where we're at, you guys. We're just two guys talking about a show on the internet.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's what we're doing.
Maybe we'll change our minds in a next video.
I mean, I did.
Yeah, that's true. Like, the last video, you changed.
I'm gonna watch the first episode of Mandalorian season 3 the day it comes out. I don't know if I'll watch anything else. I don't. You know, I think I'm gonna have to get Jim to talk me into like Cassian Andor and all of the other ones that aren't Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I think, what is it? The Acolyte, I think. Whatever the one is that's supposed to be the mystery thriller. That sounds cool to me.
Acolyte. I am going to wait at this point. I've been so jaded from Star Wars. I'm going to wait until the hype brings me to the movie. Unfortunately, I'm not the kind of fan anymore that will just watch anything just because it's Star Wars. Until I'm assured that it's in good hands or it's been saved by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau.
Okay. That's where we slightly differ, because I'll watch anything Star Wars, but that doesn't mean I'll praise it because it's Star Wars.
Okay, well, I guess if we're going to review the movies, I have to watch them.
Oh, man. Okay, so going back to the main question of whether F and F are the saviors, I really think they could be. I always go back to that video of Dave Filoni explaining the Duel of the Fates fight and how it affected the rest of the trilogy, and I get goosebumps. I get so excited listening to him talk about that stuff. So I definitely think that he's a great guy. Jon Favreau's fantastic. There's a lot of good stuff, I think, in the pipeline for Star Wars. So I'm not really worried about the future of it. I don't even know if that's like a good question. I don't know. Like, I think something like really dumb would have to happen. Well, now I'm just making, because there's a lot of dumb stuff in The Last Jedi. Never mind.
That was literally the thing that came to mind. Like, well, some dumb stuff has happened.
I'm talking like, I don't know, Darth Vader having a unicorn. I don't know, something like way over there. That might make him cooler.
Your your bar is really high. Or I guess your bar's really low.
My bar floats.
Oh man, yeah. I think as long as they have a creative vision and they have time and talent enough to execute it, I think they could be the saviors of Star Wars. Um, just, I just hope and pray that they do have that vision and that they map it out and execute it with minimal influence from producers.
Yeah, that's what we would all hope. But to that point, so I was watching that video that Jim pointed out to me. Thank you, Jim. About it was the 2-hour video essay about George Lucas and how you should watch Star Wars. I'm only like 20 minutes into it, but it's already changing my view of Star Wars significantly. And I'm like, this is really cool. You would really like it. But one of the things that I've been thinking is it'd be really hard for somebody, or I think a lot of Star Wars fans are mistaken to want new Star Wars to be just how George Lucas would do it, because only George Lucas could tell those stories the way he did. And and so what I would want, I wouldn't want Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to try to copy George Lucas, but for them to have their own idea and passion and story and love that they put into Star Wars, and execute from there. And then maybe The Mandalorian, they have a really big, 20 season long plan, and it's going to be like this big tapestry of beauty, and we're gonna, our brains are going to melt when we see it at the end, and that could be really cool. So yeah, I think I just think it would be a mistake to try to live up to any expectations. Just do what it's a genuine story from the heart. And I think that's where the sequel trilogy fell off. Is they went from doing callbacks to the original trilogy to trying to subvert the original trilogy to trying to just do fan service. And probably none of it was that genuine. I mean, maybe The Last Jedi at least was genuine because Rian Johnson was really trying to mess with people. I guess that was his goal. I don't know.
Well said.
But it's not genuine to Star Wars if you're just trying to be Star Wars. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Totally makes sense.
There's like a whole universe now we have to live in. We don't have to keep going back to the Skywalkers and trying to play that up.
No,
just do something cool.
One of my favorite parts about Star Wars is that mythic quality. I think seeing characters struggle with their inner demons, moral choices, discipline, their potential, those are all the things that made me fall in love with Star Wars. And you can do all of those things on multiple scales, even on a show like Mandalorian. But if those things are infused into the show or the movie, I will watch it. That's what I miss about Star Wars, honestly. It's not the sets or the lightsabers or even Luke Skywalker. It's the mythos.
It's the mythos.
The mythos.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But we're definitely going to have more Star Wars chats in the future. I'm going to keep...
For sure.
Trying to... and now I'm on this big Star Wars kick, and I've been really enjoying hearing how George Lucas likes to tell stories and what his whole approach is. And yeah, I'm fascinated to get more into that, and then review the whole of Star Wars with his mindset in my mind, instead of judging it from like a script and character driven thing, but more of like a visual analysis, like, wow, what's he trying to like explain visually, mythologically, metaphorically, even symbolically, just with the images and sounds and stuff. Like, I don't know, I think you and I, since we're, into like writing and storytelling, we watch movies and get really into the story. But maybe there's other stuff. Maybe that's not the way every director makes a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. So I don't know. And here's to getting my mind changed about other stuff.
To Star Wars.
Star Wars, to glory. I don't know why I added glory.
Okay.
All right. Anyway.
Well, should we wrap it up then?
We're wrapping up. That's about all the thoughts we had so far. But, thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, we had a great time. I had a great time even watching season 2.
As did I. Even though I was a little let down, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, thanks for making a good show. Thanks for pouring what you do into the storytelling. Keep it up. Don't let the man hold you down.
Amen.
All right. Well,
cool.
Like and subscribe if you like what we're doing. Drop us comments with what you thought about The Mandalorian Season 2. Did you like it? Do you think Filoni and Favreau are the saviors? Do you think Star Wars needs a savior? We're open to opinions. We like listening to you.
Truly.
All right. Much love, everybody. We're out.
Thanks, guys.